Today we're going to learn how to create a Revit family, and we're going to start with one of the simplest tools, which is the Revolve tool, as well as the Void tool. And today what we're going to learn how to do is how to create a vase. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open up Revit, and you can either go to the blue R at the very tippy top, or right here you should see on the left hand side is models, and then underneath models is families. So remember that all objects are considered a family in Revit, so that's what we're going to create. So this is a little different. Usually if you were going to open up a project, you'd go under models. So we're going to go ahead and create a new family by clicking on this button, and it's going to open up this window. Make sure that you find the English Imperial, and then in that folder you should see all the different types of templates that you can use to make a family. So if you wanted a lighting fixture, you can see those. There's generic models, parking models, plant models, plumbing models, all kinds of stuff. The easiest one, in my opinion, to work with is the furniture template. So let's go ahead and choose furniture.rft. Once you have that checked, go ahead and click open. Give it a few minutes to load. And here you'll see the general template. It's got a green dashed crosshair on it. Now when you're building models, it's going to help to see the model in many different views, including like the floor plan view, the 3D view, as well as like some elevational views. So here's a little trick in Revit. Type WT. W as in walrus, T as in Titanic. Go ahead and type that. And what happens is you get 4 squares show up. So a reference level is your floor plan view, view 1 is your 3D view, front and right are elevation views. If you also type ZA as in zoom all, you should notice that the reference level updated with the crosshairs. The 3D does not have crosshairs, it's just there for you to look at the object in its 3D form. So the important thing to understand is that whatever you draw in one view will draw in the other 4 views. That way you can see what you're creating from multiple vantage points. Now when making round objects like a vase, you're going to want to use the Revolve tool. So if you come up here to the top of your ribbon, I'm on the Create tab, and you should see Extrusion, Blend, Revolve, Sweep, Swept Blend, and Void Forms. Extrusion is very much like SketchUp. You create a plane and then you extrude it up or down. The other one that you have to deal with is your void forms. Void is like creating a space. So you know how you could push and pull in SketchUp to make like a shelf or something go back in space? You can't really do that with Revit, but the void form is kind of like creating a shape that creates a void. So you'll see how that works here when we create the vase. The other thing that I want to point out is up here in the Create tab, if you go over to the Datum panel, you should see a reference plane. This is very similar to like the guidelines that we use in SketchUp. They're kind of designed to help us draw in parts of the object. It helps us keep track of where we're at, that we're not going too high and we're not going too low, that we're going just right. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the reference plane, and then I'm going to come to the front view. So it's the bottom left hand corner, at least it is on my screen. Just make sure that you find the file that says front on the tab. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on that particular folder, file, whatever you call this. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just draw a reference plane. I'm clicking and dragging to draw it, and I'm trying to align it as best I can with the lines that were already given in that crosshair. And if you're off a little bit, it's not too big of a deal, but I'm just randomly placing, and then I'm going to click on this temporary dimension, and I'm going to type 10 inches. just to make sure that the reference plane is 10 inches higher than our current reference level of 0. That is how high our vase is going to be. With the reference plane in check, I'm going to go back up to the Create tab, and I'm going to go ahead and choose Revolve. If you hover your mouse over that, it will give you an idea as to what it's doing. So as you can see in the preview, we're drawing like half of the profile of the object in one plane, and then the tool is going to take it and revolve it around the center. So go ahead and click on Revolve. Come down here, and we're going to draw half of the vase. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm going to draw the top of the vase with my pretty pink lines, and you can do whatever size that you want to. I'm just doing 3 inches to start. And then up in the ribbon, you'll see the drawing tools. I'm going to switch to the Start and Radius arc. And with that selected, I'm going to click like where the end of the arc is going to be, and then it'll give me the option to do the peak of the arc. So I'm going to go a little bit shallow on it. And so I'm going to repeat the same step except go below, and I'm going to create the bottom half of the vase. So see how that kind of went? I'm going to go back up to the straight line, and I'm going to fill in the bottom as well as this side. So again, this is only half of the vase that I'm drawing. I'm making sure it's a closed shape with the pink lines. And really this line on the left-hand side is what I want the Revit software to revolve around. So in order to do that, we have to add what's called an axis line, which is located on the ribbon right next to the drawing tools. I'm going to click axis line, and then I'm going to draw a vertical line, and I always like to draw these up above the object just to help me understand where that is drawn at. So see how I have the axis line? It's got 2 grips, and I drew it right above the pink lines. So it's going to revolve around that axis line. So that's why I'm drawing in the front view. I just feel like that's the best view. If I try to do this in reference level or 3D, it just doesn't work so great. So with that particular axis line drawn, the pink lines are looking good. I'm going to go ahead and click on the green arrow to finish. And what you see is it kind of looks like it filled in the other half, almost like it mirrored it. But the important thing to look at is going to be your 3D view. Now, for whatever reason, whenever you do that, it kicks 3D view off the screen. So go ahead and type ZA, and you should see that that comes into view. I'm also going to click on the corner, so the view cube is up in the right-hand corner of this little tab. And right on the very corner, top corner of that view cube, if you click on it, you should see how you can click on the corner, and it should kind of rotate that view cube and therefore rotate your vase view. Now this is a wired look at it. I'm going to click on the visual style box, and I'm going to go ahead and click shaded. That'll help me see what my vase looks like in a shaded view, a little bit more 3D, which it looks pretty good. But the only thing is that there's no hole. I can't put flowers in this. It's just like, you know, it's not hollow or anything like that. So if you want to add that, that's where that void is going to come into play. So I'm going to go back to the front view elevation, and I'm going to zoom right back in here. I'm going to go up to the Create ribbon, and you should see the void forms in the ribbon. If you click on the little arrow next to void forms, it'll drop down all the same options that you have to create things, except it's going to create the void or the hollow part. So once again, I'm going to choose Void Revolve. And because I want to see the void at the top, I'm going to choose my pretty pink line, and I'm going to draw just above the top. So see how I'm kind of like just a little bit over it? I don't want to go all the way to the edge. I want to go just before. And remember that we're kind of mapping out where the hollow part of the vase. So every vase is going to have a thickness to it. So that's when I'm also going to change to the arc tool. Come in here and place the arc. Trying to get it somewhat even, but sometimes it's not always the easiest thing to work with, but just do your best. Now for this bottom part, I'm going to try and do it at an angle a little bit. So see here where the corner is? I'm going to try and do it diagonally. I don't want it that thick. Somewhere right about here is what you're looking for. Just a little above and to the left of that corner. And then you can come back and zoom out and see how you can kind of get that form to go. And it's a little thin around the edges, but really the only effect that I'm looking for is that when it's in 3D that I can see the hole. It doesn't really matter what's happening inside the vase. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the line tool so that I can maybe draw the bottom. So remember, we're giving the bottom a thickness, and the thickness is really between the pink line and the dark gray line that we have there. And just like we drew the vase, I'm going to create a closed shape. And the last step again is to choose the axis line up in the ribbon, and again I'm going to draw that just above the pink line, just kind of randomly. You don't have to go very far, you just have to create a little one. And that is how Revit will know to kind of like go around, revolve this shape in a full circle. Go ahead and click the green check mark, and then when you come over to your 3D, you might have to click on that view in order to see it, but you should now see that that vase is hollowed out. So you can even see the bottom of the vase. So that's how easy it is to create a vase or any kind of round object that you might be looking to do in Revit. There's a lot of different ways to play with this, and so that's what I encourage each of you to do. The last step is to decide if you want to paint this with a certain material. So I am under the Modify tab right at the moment, and the Paint tool is located right here. If you click on Paint, there's not a whole lot of materials in a furniture, but I do see that there is glass, and you know, most vases are glass, right? So let's go ahead and click on Glass. And then you just come over to the 3D view. That's really the best place to do it. And you just start clicking. And you'll notice that it kind of does it in parts. So you have to make sure that you get all of the parts, and hold Shift while you hold down your mouse wheel so that you can get to all the parts. So even the top needs to be glass, the inside needs to be glass. There's a few things going on here, so make sure that you revolve all the way around, and even the bottom should be glass. And if you want to check the very bottom, you can keep it this way, or you can turn that to glass as well. I mean, I'm kind of open to how you want to go about doing things. But there is the glass piece. I'm going to go ahead and close the paint. And then if I want to look at it from a realistic view, you sure can. And there is the glass, which is pretty nifty if you ask me. Now, if you want to, if you already have a project open, you can click Load into Project and close. But otherwise, what I suggest you do is we go to File and we go to Save As. Make sure that you save it as a family. I'm going to go to my desktop and I'm going to create a new folder called Revit Objects. And any of the objects that I create in Revit will be loaded here, and then you kind of like start making your own library. So this is going to be glass vase 1. I always put a number on the end just in case I make multiple glass vases. Go ahead and hit save. And I'm going to close out of each of these views. I'm going to open my assignment 7. I'm going to go to the furniture plan for level 1. And let's say that I want to place a vase on this reception desk. Now that the vase is created, I can go to Insert, Load Family, and I can find where I saved that vase. So Revit Objects, and notice that there's a .rfa on the file name. That indicates that it's a family. So go ahead and click on Glass Vase 1, choose Open, and remember that Revit doesn't do anything once you do that, so you got to go to the Architecture tab and you got to click Component. I know that's so annoying. Sorry, I didn't make the software. And then what you should see is Glass Vase 1 shows up in your properties, and now you can place that object. Now notice that I try to place it on the desk, and for whatever reason, they always place on the floor. So if you want to see that and put it up on the desk, I'm going to create a section. Just kind of a temporary section. It looks like my sections are all hiding, so I'm going to unhide it from the Stranger Things world. That's what I always call the little light bulb down on the very bottom. I'm going to unhide the section by category. Click on that light bulb again, and then I'm going to flip this section by grabbing the bar and then finding the little flip tool underneath and flip it. Then I can double click on the section mark, and lo and behold, there's my cute little vase sitting on the floor. Just grab the vase and use the move command. I'm going to try and grab it from the bottom so that I can therefore just place it right on the surface of the desk. And you can go back to your furniture plan and you can see that that has been placed on the desk now. So that's all there is to creating something and inserting it into your project. The next video I'm going to show you how to do something a little bit more complicated, which is a shelf unit.